I want to add, it's perfectly fine to use a safe word.
Yes.
While you are punished.
Yes.
If you cannot, and a safe word should be only used in case of emergency or reaching a limit.
Right.
And that could be in a punishment. And it's perfectly fine. When you reach your limit, even in a punishment, it will not remove the punishment.
No, it will not.
It will not remove the punishment, but it will probably adjust it. But it's perfectly fine to say the safe word.
Yeah, it is. I completely agree with that 100%. There's no shame in using that safe word. There's not. I know a lot of submissives. I know that when I was going through my training, I oftentimes felt like, no, I can deal with this. I can put up with this. I can work through this. And, I clearly was already at my limit. But, and I didn't use the safe word. At the same time, some dominants will push you to the point, for submissives, will push you to a point and past that point to show you your actual limit. And that is a fact. But you should not be afraid to use the safe word in any situation for any reason whatsoever.
Actually, because I heard it so many times, I think it's not a topic we have, but we have a flow.
Yeah, we have a flow.
I read so many times they are from submissive, they are afraid to use the safe word. And actually, I think, and I get a lot of shitstorm of it, because that's my opinion. I think, but it can only be done in a really loving and caring dynamic. I think dominant should push the submissive at least one time to use the safe word, to give her the feeling that, or bring her to the point that she has to use the safe word. He's aware of it. She should be aware of it before you do it.
Okay. So I think I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is that, so to discover, for those who are new, to discover your limit.
No, it's not just it's not the limit, because the limit can change at any time. For me, what I'm trying to say is, I think it's for me it's helpful, in my opinion, to push the submissive at least one time to use the safe word, so she lose the fear of using the safe word, because it's okay to use the safe word. It's perfectly fine to use the safe word. I never was in a situation. I was in a situation.
Yeah, that one time.
One time that I really needed to. I had to use the safe word.
And she turns out she didn't.
I never did.
Yeah, and I seen she was at a limit, but I was trying to push her to a point where she would feel it was okay, And I mean, I was really, really proud of her. She took the punishment 100%. Did not use a safe word, but I was very, very proud of her. I had hoped that you would see your new level of strength.
But that's really not okay, but that is not the point. The point, I think, is I didn't think of using it, but I should have think of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe you should have. I don't know. I mean, I seen you were kind of at a limit, but whether or not you were at a safe word limit, couldn't really tell. One way or the other. But we were also new. In our dynamic.
That's fine.
So that goes right back to a previous section where you have to know you're submissive. You have to know how their body reacts. You have to know the way that their body reacts to certain things. You have to know their emotional, mental, and physical limit. And what I hear you saying is push those limits so that you're able to
I think it would help.
Remove that fear.
Yes, I think it would help. I get a lot of shitstorm because it's never okay to push the limits or to go over a limit. It doesn't have to be a big limit or a really hard limit.
Right.
It can be
Soft limit.
a soft limit and being in a discomfort. But in my opinion, it helps a lot if you bring someone to this point to use the safe word. It doesn't have to be mentally, maybe physically. It doesn't have to be an abuse, of course. That's not what I mean.
I think that if a dominant isn't pushing those soft limits, he or she is not doing their job. Because limits, those soft limits, and I hear it, and I know I'm going to get some crap over this, even hard limits, some hard limits should be nudged, not pushed, not broken, nudged, especially for those new submissives that do not know their limits. I'm not talking about anything crazy. I'm talking about like anything that doesn't endanger, it doesn't endanger or doesn't cause permanent damage, to anybody, including the submissive. Somebody says, my hard limit is spanking. Well, you should try spanking at least once. You know what I mean? And because a lot of people don't know their limit.
That's true. And they don't know how to use a safe word.
Right, that too.
Because a lot of new submissive have fear.
Yeah,
they are afraid to use the safe word.
Right.
The only thing that keeps them really safe, they are afraid of.
Right.
And that's, in my opinion, you should, as a dominant, you should push the submissive at least one time over this edge to use the safe word.
I know that, it is in regards to the safe word, I highly encourage dominance, and I know I'll catch some shit over this. I highly encourage dominance to assign a safe word that they always use, and then be on the bottom end, be on the receiving end of another dominant who ignores your safe word. Even a couple of lashes. I guarantee you that safe word will be burned into your brain. And when you hear that safe word, you will stop. You will stop dead in your tracks. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It doesn't matter how I'm doing it. It doesn't matter where I am or whatever. I hear that safe word, I stop. Boom. Boom. Anything I'm doing. Would you agree with that?
That's true.
Doesn't matter what I'm doing. My brain is programmed to stop. I hear that safe word, I stop. Bing. I can be driving down the road. I will stop driving. Boop, pull over. And I just kind of look around.
I remember the time in the very beginning of our relationship dynamic. Yeah, I had a lot of bumps. I call it bumps.
A little bit.
Yes, and we end up in a really, really fucked up situation, and it was a very hard time. It nearly broke us.
Yeah.
And I remember this one evening, you drank some beer, you were kinda all over the place, and you were insulting yourself, you were insulting me. It was a really fucked up situation, and the only thing I could do, because you didn't hear me, I could say whatever I wanted. I probably could be here and shake you. It wouldn't help.
Yeah, it was a very emotional time. And at that point, it was a very emotional time for both of us.
Yes, of course, of course.
For both of us.
And I was crying, and I was almost yelling at you, and it didn't work.
Right.
And I used the safe word, and you stopped immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately. That was the only
Right.
time I ever used a safe word with you.
Well, I mean, for me, when I was a submissive, my mistress, a little bit of a share on personal side, I went through that. My submissive, my mistress, she she whooped me. You know what I mean? And we played for a good 40, 45 minutes an hour, and the last 30 minutes of that, she was full on whipping me to way past my limit. I was screaming the safe word, and she ignored it. She ignored it, and I was screaming it, and she just didn't care. And just did not care at all. But I'll tell you what, by the end of that 30 minutes, that was programmed into my brain. And you're right. I agree. That's not how it should go. But I still think that a dominant should experience that. Maybe not 30 minutes. Give it 5.
Actually, I agree. I mean, a lot of will not agree with it because they are dominant.
Yeah, and they're so
receive.
super hard. They're bad, raw dominance. Yeah, they're too macho to be, to be weak.
Yeah, a dominant doesn't receive at all.
Yeah,
But actually, I think it's the same thing when I say you should come to the point to use a safe word at least once. I think actually it's a good idea for dominant to feel, not being a submissive, that's not the point, but to feel how it feels when your safe word is ignored.
Right. So I